The world was a symphony of silence, a quiet born of profound listening rather than absence. In the pearlescent mist of Kalen V, the native listeners moved with delicate grace, their sensory fronds drinking the sorrow of the weeping sky. They perceived the universe through harmonic resonance, the slow growth of crystal forests, the lament of drifting moons, the distant shrieks of dying stars. So when the crude, explosive thunder of human engines tore through the void, they felt it as a physical wound, a jagged scar of noise bleeding into their souls. They gathered, fronds intertwined in dread. For the first time, something was coming that did not listen, it only shouted. The human lander was a hammer of durasteel and flaring plasma. It settled in the glade of first resonance with a crash that shattered harmonic fungi. The airlock hissed, and two figures emerged, sealed in armor that clattered and hummed. Their footfalls were clumsy, percussive impacts. Between them, they carried a third on a stretcher, a silent form amidst the noise of their machines. Captain Aris removed her helmet, her voice a sharp eruption in the damp air, atmospheres breathable. Comes our dead, the planetary field is like a solid wall. We're on our own until the Sagan misses us. Her lieutenant, Jax, nodded toward the watching listeners, their smooth, eyeless heads turned in unison. We need their help for Mara. The attempt at communication was a disaster. Their translator device reduced the listener's nuanced, resonant language to stark, aggressive commands. A gentle inquiry of, "What is the nature of your imbalance?" became, "You question our presence." A soothing harmonic meant to calm was rendered as, "You are to be pacified." When Jax raised his rifle in instinctive alarm, the listeners felt the coiling violence in his bioelectric field. Aris and Jax built a camp of angular plas canvas and screaming generators, a blister of dissonance in the glade. They worked with furious, desperate energy, sawing crystal trees and blasting pits, each sound a blow to the listeners observing from the tree line. Yet the aliens also witnessed the humans' quiet ritual around their fallen companion. The two would sit for hours by the stretcher, Aris's hand on the still woman's arm, their loud voices dropping into whispers. The storm of noise, the listeners began to sense, was not chaos itself, but a dam holding back a sea of fear. Driven by a fragile new curiosity, a need to understand the disruptive note in their world as song, a young listener approached. It carried no tool, only a hollow resonating husk. At the edge of the scarred earth, it began to hum. It did not speak. It mirrored. It took the harsh sounds of the human camp, the grind of the recycler, the hiss of the stasis field, and wove them into a repeating, rhythmic pattern, making the noise listenable. Aris watched, then slowly sat. The listener shifted its song, softening it, weaving in a slowed, saddened echo of Aris's own commanding voice from the first day. It was an echo of her fear. Aris pointed to herself. Aris. The listener echoed the sound, Aris, but placed it within a harmonic context, making the name a part of the glade's music. A bridge was built, not of words, but of reflected sound and patient attention. The human, named Echo, learned to parse the emotional cadence beneath human speech. The humans learned to move with stillness, to feel the world through vibrations. Brought to Mara, Echo extended its fronds over the stasis field. It perceived the battle within not a void, but a desperate, silent storm of electrical struggle, a body fighting to live while the mind was adrift. Its resulting tone was one of profound, mournful recognition. Echo then led them on a silent journey to the Heartwood, a clearing where the stone was a natural resonant slate and the trees formed a perfect amphitheater. Here, the planet's own magnetic song was strongest. Through gesture and shared understanding, a plan formed. The Sagan listened on deep subspace bands. The unique resonance of Kalen V, if amplified and modulated with the precise pattern of the human SOS, could be a beacon. But it required a singer of immense power. The elder came, its ancient form stooped, its fronds silver with age. It would conduct the song, but the humans had to provide its shape, the stark, digital cry of their machine code translated into pure sound. Through the long night, they collaborated on the impossible. Aris and Jax composed a stark sequence of rising and falling pitches, the mathematical bones of their distress call. The listeners gathered, linking fronds into a living network. They listened to the angular, unnatural melody and trembled. The elder began, a deep note that shook the ground. The chorus joined, weaving the human signal into their own planetary harmony. They did not soften its edges. They gave it clarity and power, using the world's voice to project its stark truth. The mist pulsed, crystalline dust danced, and a beam of patterned vibration lanced into the void. On the Sagan, an officer snapped to attention. Captain Harmonic Anomaly from Kalen V. It's modulating, it's our Omega Protocol SOS. But in the Heartwood, the cost was manifesting. The Elder's fronds grayed, its life force pouring into the stone. The chorus faltered, their harmony fraying. The signal began to distort. Seeing their sacrifice crumbling, Arise moved without thought. She stepped forward and placed her bare hands on the Elder's cool flesh. Then she sang. It was no listener melody, but a ragged human work chant from her childhood, off-key and thick with emotion. She sang of fear for Mara, of hope for rescue, of gratitude for the listeners. Jox joined her, his voice a steady foundation. The listeners heard it a raw, emotional bedrock. They took this new song of human heart and wove the machine code SOS through it. The beam that shot upward was now a perfect fusion. The logic of the code, the sacrifice of the listeners, and the defiant hope of humanity. It was no longer a hybrid, but a new and complete song. When the Sagan's shuttle finally returned, it found a transformed glade. The screaming generators were silent, replaced by softly glowing bioluminescent pods. Arise and Jack sat not on crates but on crystal stumps beside Echo and the recovering Elder, and between them, on a stretcher woven from silver vines, lay Mara. Her eyes were open, gazing at the mist. The stasis field was gone. Her body now cradled by a restorative resonant field, the listeners modulated in a gentle, continuous lullaby. The shuttle's co-pilot stepped out into the deep, listening quiet. He saw the harmony, the humans and aliens existing as parts of a single, peaceful landscape. He whispered to Arise, what did you do? Arise looked at Echo, at the Elder, at the living Mara. Her smile was quieter than any she had ever known. We learned to listen, she said. And in that place the words were not a sound, but a vibration felt in the soul, the final, resonating note of a newfound understanding.